Waves, writer-director Trey Edward Shults. Do you remember me reviewing a film called It Comes at Night?
I do.
Which is this kind of brooding near-future drama in which it's basically a film about America turning upon itself in much the same way as Us is a film in which the title is a pun. Us is US, and that central line in Us, who are they? We're Americans. And It Comes at Night was about that kind of xenophobic paranoia about an environment in which everybody turns against everybody else. And it was very much a mood piece. It was a film in which very little was explained in terms of plot and narrative and exposition. And everything was told to you through mood and through a kind of ambient, creeping atmosphere. So Waves is very interesting. It's very, very disorientating. It's a very heady experience. Very early on, we have a shot in a car of the camera circling around in a car, capturing a group of people in the car, singing along to records, looking out the window, laughing, joking with each other. And this is a recurrent shot. It happens a number of times during the drama. And it's almost sort of lays out the film's table, which is we're placing you right in the middle of this group, right in the middle of this experience. We want you to be immersed in it. Actually, in a way, it's, I suppose, not a million miles removed from what Terrence Malick would be doing with those kind of early sequences in Hidden Life. The narrative is broken-backed, and it begins by focusing in on Tyler, played by Kelvin Harrison Jr., who is a student sports hero. He's into wrestling, but he has three big problems, it turns out. He, on the one hand, there is an injury that he's been dealing with to his shoulder, and that he's hoping will clear up so that he can, get back to his wrestling. And the other thing is that he has an overbearing father figure whose influence seems to be encouraging, but also seems to be, as I said, completely overbearing. Here's a clip.
I said it before, I'll say it again. The world don't give a about you or me. We are not afforded the luxury of being average. Gotta work 10 times as hard just to get anywhere. I don't push you because I want to. I push you because I have to. Do you hear what I'm saying, son? Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then what happens is the narrative builds toward a kind of midpoint climax. At which point, and I don't want to say anything about what that is. I mean, you can discover the film for yourself. I know some reviews have said what happens, but I don't think there's any need in doing that. What happens is that after that midpoint climax, the film then shifts its attention away from the central character of the first half to the central character's younger sister, and the story then goes off in a different direction. Now we have the portrait of the younger sister who has grown up in the shadow of her brother. She's much more reticent. She's much more withdrawn to some extent, but she's clearly living in the shadow of somebody. And now she must find her own place in the world and must come out from that shadow. And I think that one of the things that's interesting about the film is that I think some people will be perplexed by the fact that it changes direction midway through, although I have no problem with that at all. I actually really like it when a film doesn't just do the thing you think it's going to do and goes off in a different direction. Also, incidentally, I've now told you that that's what it's going to do, so you'll be expecting it. And I do think the way in which it manages to do that works really well. So although there is as I said, a kind of broken-backed narrative, that broken-backness does make sense. I was reading an interview with Shults in which he said he was partly inspired by a Frank Ocean album called Blonde, in which he's described that as capturing the, in inverted commas, beautiful dichotomy of honesty and vulnerability of those two sides of the same coin. And the soundtrack for the film is by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, and it includes tracks by Frank Ocean and Kanye West, Kendrick Lamar, Tyler, the Creator, Radiohead. So it's it is an interesting soundtrack. But one of the things that the film does, and this reminded me when I was watching it of the Safdie brothers, we had a couple of emails from people talking about the whether you like Uncut Gems or not, of being, like that kind of panic attack, you're in the middle of the world. Well, this does a similar thing, but not in a frenetic way, in a way which is much more kind of woozy and dreamy. So on the one hand, it has its feet in, hard factual reality. And there are elements in it that remind you that the previous film that Trade Which was made is a horror film in all but name. But actually, it's much more of a kind of personally, again, I'm saying this, I keep using this word, this show, personally immersive experience, that it puts you right there in the heads of the protagonists. And it's a slightly more difficult watch as a result of the way in which it's structured. But because I believed completely in the characters, and because I believed completely in the situation, or the situations are totally alien to my own experience, I was really drawn into it. There's a terrific late in the day performance by Lucas Hedges, who continues to do interesting work in very interestingly chosen films. And after watching it, I had that experience of, if you watch a film sometimes and then it follows you around, like when you're actually in the middle of it, you're not quite sure what you make of it, but then afterwards it sticks with you. Well, this had that. It had that kind of strange half-waking life feel about it. And I was thinking about the title, Waves, and the various things that the title might mean. And one of the things it means to me is that the film comes in waves, and those waves have continued to ripple long after I finished watching the movie.